The second day of exams ended and Sojiro was on his way back to the mansion. The road grew steeper and the woods thicker as he made his way up the familiar slope. People in town called it not a hill, but a mountain, simply because it took over 20 minutes to climb. This did not sit well with Sojiro, for whom a mountain was something that could not be overcome so easily. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You grew up in the mountains, so I guess his standards are higher. Or, yeah, higher. The road was paved, for one thing, and the canopy overhead let in plenty of sunlight to guide the way. None of the inclines were especially steep, and no animals lurked in the underbrush. There was no chance of losing his way, no reason to worry about getting lost. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's fair. You'll get used to it eventually. Probably. Sojiro quietly reprimanded himself for getting so wrapped up in his own little world. In the past few weeks since moving here, he had been constantly comparing the town with his former mountain home. Normally, he wouldn't get upset over it, but in recent days, since meeting Aoko as it happened, he had become rather hung up on the differences. He was none the wiser as to why, but he knew that Aoko is a force that cannot be stopped. Yeah, this naturally made him want to quicken his own pace. Yeah, okay. The mansion where they both lived was the antipathy of her lively personality. It stood out like a sore thumb, even in a town like Misaki. Some people said it was haunted. There were no ghosts per se, but it was inhabited by magicians, so their claims were closer to the truth than they could have possibly known. Yeah.
そういえば、幽霊と魔法使いっていうのはどっちが常識外れなんだろう。
I don't know. Lost in contemplation as he was, the boy failed to notice how his own lack of familiarity with city life played into the equation. In any case, none of his pondering changed what needed to be done. Tomorrow was the last day of exams. That meant he only had a little longer until Aoko stopped taking responsibility for his safety. If possible, today was going to be the day when the mansion's owner accepted his continued residence there. Yeah, we'll see about that. Sojiro slipped between the trees encircling the mansion and walked down the naturally tree-lined avenue that led him to the front door.
Yoshi.
Taking a deep breath, he stepped across the threshold. The drawing room was where he expected to find Alice. However, he found himself face to face with the most unexpected scene. A few steps in, he arrived at the large foyer extending from the mansion's entrance. But one thing was clearly out of place. What? The foyer of the mansion was like a hall in a medieval castle. It was illuminated by the cold winter sun casting down through the skylight, unaided by artificial light. Okay, what's... I spy an Alice shoulder? Is her being here what's out of place? Or... The wooden tiles smelled of the outdoors. And there... Alice? Why are you on the floor? And there was Alice, dressed all in black, huddled against a column so enormous it resembled a sharply cornered tree trunk. Okay. The mansion was quite literally supporting her frail body. Like a mother's lullaby or a gently rocking cradle. The heavy atmosphere within this old building suppressed even the slightest stir, almost as if warding away any disturbance to her slumber. Is this a test? To see what he would do? Or did she actually just, like, pass out? Because if she actually passed out, that's concerning. But I wouldn't put it past her to, be trying to trap him. There she slept in the shadows of home. Hidden away from outsiders, her sleeping figure was enough to mesmerize anyone who laid eyes upon her. Uh-huh. Sojiro instinctively looked up at the ceiling out of sheer awkwardness. He wanted to surprise her, but not in this way. Her slender frame lay asleep by the fireplace. The scene was as beautiful as a painting, yet hard on his heart at the same time. Her slumber seemed breathless. She was too still, with not even a hint of movement. And yet, slumped against that frigid column under the cold winter sky, happiness appeared to be her blanket. Okay. A passerby would not be blamed for thinking that she was in that most peaceful state of eternal slumber, death. Oh! Yeah, I guess. I mean, yeah, I'm probably. I wouldn't be surprised if she was. Sojiro spoke to himself as he gazed idly upon her. Bringing her a blanket or something warm did not so much as cross the boy's mind. He's gonna try and pick her up and take her to her room, isn't he? Sojiro, I beg of you. Okay, well, we'll see how this goes. Instead, odd as it sounds, the first thing he thought to do was to go prepare some tea. Okay. I don't... I don't know how that ended up being the thought he had, but I'll take it over what I was afraid was gonna happen. He made sure to be as quiet as possible as he opened the drawing room door. On the table waiting for him were 3 pills. They were the medicine Aoko required him to take every day when he arrived home. Uh-huh. Gulping down the vaguely sweet pills and continuing on to the kitchen, he selected a box of tea from among the many in the cabinet, and brewed enough for 2 people. Alice was still asleep when he returned to the foyer. Careful not to make any noise, he crouched close to the ground. He was startled by how cold the floor felt to his pants. He thought it would be warmer here by the fireplace, but then again, he recalled how Aoko had referred to it as a useless hole in the wall. Yeah, okay. I mean, yeah, that's what fireplaces usually are if you don't light them, yeah. What was likely the case was that neither she nor Alice knew how to use it properly. Yeah, probably. After taking the teacups from the tray and placing one in front of each of them, Sojiro carefully pulled his textbook on classical literature from his satchel. So, his idea was to make tea and then just plop down in front of Alice and study. Okay. Yeah, wouldn't want that. He could still see her angry face from this morning. The reason for her anger was still as much a mystery as the unusual look he saw briefly come across her face. Yeah. I mean, she's afraid you... Well, I mean, I feel like she's pretty confident you're gonna die here, so... You know... Yeah, so her anger is justified, you know, all the work she put into keeping you alive and you get yourself killed, so... I guess she has a right to be angry. In any case, one thing was certain. He needed to start studying for tomorrow. Thanks to Aoko's instruction, today's exams went well enough, but tomorrow's would be an even more formidable challenge. Yeah, probably. After how angry she was this morning, he could not expect her to help him again tonight. Yeah, I wouldn't count on it.
そのくせ点数悪いと怒るし、別に青崎が怒る筋合いじゃないと思う。
I mean, the teacher's kind of putting it on her to make sure you don't fail completely, so I mean, it kind of is has something to do, but you don't understand that. Forget about it. He complained under his breath as he cracked open his textbook. Well, I guess to be fair though, Aoko, after seeing what the teacher was holding, pretty much volunteered to do it before he even said anything. So apparently, he intended to spend his time in this fashion until Alice finally awoke. Again, still weird. Just kind of sitting next to a sleeping girl with tea set out. I don't even what's his plan here? The sound of the pages turning was the only audible noise in the grand hall. There was no ticking of clocks or rustling of leaves to disturb her sleep. After a few hours, Sojiro quietly rose to his feet. The light that filled the foyer was beginning to turn from white to red.
そろそろバイトの時間か。
Oh, wow. Didn't even get to talk to her yet. He glanced again at Alice as he stretched his stiff back. She slept in perfect stillness, just as she had this entire time. Interesting. Sojiro arched his brow in speculation. He had no idea what her normal sleeping schedule was like, so he had no idea as to whether he should wake her.
いや、青崎も帰ってくるだろうし、いらぬ世話かな。
Yeah. As if reaching the end of a long train of thought, Sojiro gave a quick nod of his head and took his leave of the mansion. Today, work was a shift at the Chinese restaurant in Misaki's shopping district, the Mad Bear, that uses a cat costume for its delivery people, but yeah, whatever. We won't worry about the details. Their uniforms had been made by someone with an obvious preference for garish colors. Yeah. The orange apron was emblazoned with a cartoonish polar bear slashing and walking too with its powerful claws. The design resembled warning signs about wild animals seen in the mountains and stood out in Misaki for its one-of-a-kind originality. This was the Chinese restaurant, the Mad Bear. Aside from its name and logo, the restaurant was the type of cheap, hole-in-the-wall dive that could be found anywhere. It faced competition from the ever-increasing number of chain restaurants, though it had managed to last longer than other dining spots, having received rave reviews on a regular basis. Right, rave reviews, The Mad Bear prioritized the personal touch, focusing on its local clientele, and thus made a point to offer home delivery. Okay. Yeah, I guess this is like way before the time of like DoorDash being a thing. This is like, yeah, like late early 90s. This would be early 90s, right? I don't remember, but yeah. So yeah, most places didn't have delivery unless you're a pizza place. But you know, pizza places are. You know, I'm gonna stop that tangent before it goes on any longer. It had earned the affectionate moniker QKS, the Quick Killer Stop. Making these deliveries was Sojiro's responsibility for the time being. Places in Misaki within cycling distance fell under his domain. Anything beyond that was handled by a more experienced staff member on the legendary 50cc King Salmon motorbike. But anyway,
ヤシロギのダチから聞いたんだけどな。
When delivery workers were not out on deliveries, they spent their shift bussing tables or washing dishes. The dinner rush was yet to come, and Sojiro and his fellow delivery boys were shooting the breeze while washing dishes in the back.
聞いてるか、しずき。
聞いてるよ、木の実。
The two were elbow deep in a giant sink as they enthusiastically scrubbed. At least that was what they pretended to do when they gossiped. You know, I was a dishwasher for one day when I don't remember if I was 15 or 16. I want to say 16. And I hated it. I was like, you know what? I'm done. I ain't doing this. Like, you were not allowed to, like, at least where I did it, I was not allowed to take a break. I had to stand for 6 hours straight. And that might not sound like it to me now. That's not that bad. After having had other jobs like custodian. I was a custodian for like 6 months. And, you know, I kind of got used to standing there. But, like, when I, being, 15, 16, and played video games all the time, I having to stand for 6 hours and scrub. Like, dishwashing is still my least favorite thing to do. I will do anything else other than dishwashing, because my shoulder blades just start hurting. And it's... yeah, I'll moral of the story, I will do anything, like, house fucking cleaning wise except for dishwashing. I will clean toilets, I will do whatever. Just someone else do the dishes. Please God. Okay, tangent over. Let's pretend to enthusiastically scrub. That's what they pretended to do while they gossiped.
和食のケニアだけじゃねえんだってよ。三崎町の大帝都にもメシアンにもその手の注文があったらしいぜ。そんな肉が欲しいなら下市に行けばいいのにな。なんだって生肉だの大物の鮭丸ごとだのを出前させやがるのか。
Raw meat and an entire salmon. Huh?
どうよ。こう露骨にヤバそうな話じゃね？ワニとかアザラシでも飼ってるんじゃねえかな、そいつ。
Or maybe something even worse?
他に比べてみると確かに珍しい話だと思う。ところで木の実、ワニってなんだ？
Yeah, no, I guess there wouldn't be alligators in the mountains, I suppose.
ワニはワニだろう。だっせ、実物見たことないのかよ。まあ俺もねえけどな。今度ガクガク動物ランドのアフリカ特集ビデオを貸してやるから見とけよ。
Thanks, I guess. This was a familiar pattern of conversation between the two, especially now Kinomi was used to Sojiro's lack of general knowledge. Their banter was interrupted by the delivery phone. The manager snapped up the receiver and quickly jotted down the order and address. Once he hung up, everyone in the kitchen did their best to avoid making eye contact with them. Nobody wanted to go rushing out for a delivery on such a cold day.
しずきくん、ちょっと遠いけど配達をお願い。
Wait. I know where this is going. It's gonna be a delivery to the mansion, right? The manager singled Sojiro out for the task, seemingly unfazed by his staff's laziness.
はい、これ届けるもののリスト。異例だからあまり他のバイトには他言しないようにね。
The manager tore the sheet with the order and address written on it from his memo pad. Sojiro took one look at it before a grimace quietly spread across his face.
マネージャー？
なんだい？
The manager stared right back at him as if he could tell what it was he wanted to say.
君の疑問はもっともだ。しかしまあ、長いことこの商売をやっていると、時にはこんなバカな話が転がってくることもある。 そうおかしなことじゃない。
Right.
じゃあ冷蔵庫から品物持ってくるから。
So maybe it's not going to the mansion, but it's an order from what Kinomi was just talking about people ordering just raw food or raw meat. Sojiro stared in admiration as the manager, dressed in black, marched out of the kitchen in his all business way. Nowhere was free from the odd occurrence now and then. Wait, but if it's the delivery of the raw meat, or wait, no, maybe it is for the mansion, or wait, they're just gonna wait. They're just gonna cut off that line of who was the delivery for? No, well, ain't no way they just cucked us like that, right? Like, what? I wanted to see where the delivery was gonna go. Maybe it'll show us in a flashback. If it was a weird place, maybe it'll... Huh. Okay, well, I'll hold off on my disappointment till we get a little later. Because maybe it will show us. It was after 10 at night. Sojiro had taken a small detour on his way home from work, and now faced an outraged Aoko as expected. Seeing her so visibly irritated made him feel a rush of relief. He didn't know why she was angry, but he could tell it was a different type of anger than what he saw earlier that morning.
遅いって、まだ10時になったばかりだろう。どうしたんだ、青崎。
He set down the cardboard box he'd been carrying in his arms and glanced toward the fireplace. The sleeping girl was there no more.
違うわ。もう10時になったの間違いでしょ。
True, they did lay out the curfew, so you don't have a really good excuse here, Sojiro. Unless that box you just set down has food in it, then you know.
あんたって本当自分がどんな状態にあるか分かってないのね。
He broke a rule. It's pretty easy to understand. Or maybe not.
いいから今に来て。
She walked briskly to the other room without pausing, leaving Sojiro standing in confusion, head tilted to one side. He proceeded to pick his box back up and follow after her eagerly. Sometimes I talk so fast I like skip over R's, which I guess isn't the worst thing because a lot of British people tend to skip R's, but or not skip, but like I don't know. But it's more of a me just talking sloppily than intentional, so I don't really have an excuse. He removed his coat and hung it on a hanger as he entered the living room. Apparently today was one of those days where Alice kept herself locked away in her room. On the table were the familiar pills.
説明しなかった私も悪いけど、あなたも帰ってくる時間は守ってよね。こっちはそのつもりで作ってるんだから。
Okay. Aoko handed him the pills and a glass of water with an expectant look on her face.
薬なら出かける前に飲んだけど、体の調子だって悪くないし、そんなに慌てることか？
は？なんだって私たちがあんたの健康を気にかけなくちゃいけないのよ。
Are they going to explain to us what the pills are for? Because I am rather curious.
勘違いしてるようだけど、あんたが帰ってくるたびに飲んでるのって、平たく言えば毒よ。
Oh, okay. Poison. Got it.
即効性じゃないから、効き目は半日すると出てくるんだけど、その前に新しい毒薬を飲んでおかないと、古い毒が体に回ってばったりいくって寸法ね。
Okay.
アリスのやつ、これぐらいしないと信用できないって言い張ったのよ。
Right. Got it.
ほら、分かったらさっさと飲む。ま、私もこれ面倒だと思うし。
I hope there's an antidote for when slash if you figure out the memory wiping thing. So that way you don't just send him off with no memories and he just dies.
近いうちもっと形のある方法を考えてみるから、それまでこの方法で我慢して。
言ってることは支離滅裂だが、とにかく今まで良くないものを飲んでたんだな。
Yes. Apparently. Sojiro took the pills from her and gulped it down. The fact that it was poison gave him no pause at all. Well, she just explained to him that if he didn't yeah, he's gonna die if he doesn't take more. It's like, why would he not? I mean, I guess to be fair, it is. I guess it should have gave him pause, even if he did hear the part about where he would die if he didn't take more. But still, it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I didn't read that line, but whatever.
毒を持って毒を制するなんて、また古風な真似するな、青崎もアリスも。
Yeah. Also, I do want to see what that was. Antisocial tranquil behavior showed no signs of standing up to it. Okay, yeah. Sojiro's face relaxed into a smile upon finding the funny side of the situation. Yeah, funny. Being poisoned repeatedly is fun. Yeah, I guess so. Aoko was utterly dumbfounded as to how he could be happy at a time like this. He's I've ran out of words to describe him.
今日帰りが遅れたのはアパートまで荷物を取りに行っていたからなんだ。そういうことなら電話の一つでもすればよかった。
No, unless you have a cell phone that you didn't bother to mention, but I don't know where you would have been carrying one of those, because in late 80s, early 90s, like cell phones back then were giant clunky pieces of shit. Like I don't know where you would have hid one of those.
荷物ってまさかそれじゃないでしょうね。
Sojiro nodded emphatically as she pointed incredulously at the cardboard box in his hands.
住んでいないのに家賃を払うのはバカらしいから今日で引き上げてきた。一応いつでも戻れるように話はつけてあるから3ヶ月ぐらいは大丈夫だよ。
Okay, so the building manager is just, or landlord is just okay with you not paying rent, but they're holding the place for you anyway. That is rather kind of them, I guess.
家賃？あ、そっか、そうよね。私ってばなんでそんなことを忘れてたんだろう。アリスが聞いたら喜ぶわ、そりゃ。
Oh god, they're gonna start making you pay rent now. Oh no. A smile blossomed across her face as they say. Yeah, he look at his face. He knows exactly where this is going. He's like, ah, shit. What have I done? It was the open, bold-faced look of a child who just came up with a mischievous plan. Sojiro shook with fear at the thought of what that smile might bring his way. Oh no, I guess he didn't figure it out. He just knows something bad's gonna happen.
けどずいぶん少ないのね、荷物。段ボール1箱分しかないの？
I mean, he doesn't really want for much, I guess, yeah?
そうかな。十分多いだろう。それよりアリスは自室か？
ちょっと前に戻ったわ。珍しく食後もここに残ってたんだけど、待ちきれなかったみたいね。
Maybe she was gonna thank him for the tea? Perhaps? She gave Sojiro a meaningful look while continuing to smile that sinister smile.
待ちきれなかったって何を？
Oh my god, Sojiro. Buddy. For you.
そりゃあアリスが眠ってるのをいいことに在庫のないフォションとブルーキャリコを勝手に使ってくれたどこかの誰かさんにお仕置きするためなんじゃない？
Oh no. He was just trying to be nice and make tea for her, and it was apparently like expensive fancy tea. Oh god. Oh no. So, bro, his good intention just became, oh dear god. He tries to do one nice thing and it somehow is wrong. Oh man.
フォッションってあのお茶の葉？
Uh-huh.
そう私もびっくりしたけどね。アリスがどっかで寝入るのはよくあることだけど紅茶を用意して眠るなんてのは初めてだったから。どんな心境の変化か知りたくて起こしたらアリスの方が驚いてたわ。一体誰の仕業なんだって。
Yeah. Sojiro clapped his hands together as if remembering something important. He had forgotten to clean up the tea before leaving. The regret written from forehead to chin delighted Aoko immensely.
そうか。それじゃあアリスは怒っていただろう。
当然コマドリがとばっちりでドリブルされてたしね。
I mean, okay, he wasn't. Okay, look. Yeah, I was gonna say Alice must see that he was trying to be like do a nice thing, but I guess she probably wouldn't care.
ああ、俺でも怒る。片付けをきちんとしないなんてだらしないにも程がある。
That's not. Okay, Sojiro harshly scolded himself for his failure.
論点違う。あのね、寝顔を間近で見られたから怒ってるのよ、アリスは。
How does she know he watched her? What if he just made tea for her? I guess the 2 cups on the ground would. Yeah, no, yeah. I guess if she saw the 2 cups, that would be pretty obvious.
え？そうかな。アリスはそういうのは気にしないと思うんだけど。
Wait. She was mad about that, not the. Well, I thought you said. But wait. Aoko said before that she was mad about the Falchion and Blue Calico, so the tea and I guess the biscuits they had set out, or the little cookies. I guess she was just I don't know.
あんたはそうかもしれないけど、私たちは気にするの。
I don't think I'm waiting for him to say, well, I don't want to watch you sleep. Aoko's glare was enough to make glass shatter. There was an indescribable intensity in the way she said that.
それは青崎たち限定の話か？
I feel like it's a pet peeve for most people.
世間一般での常識よ。自分が気にしないからって他人もそうだと思ってるといつかやけどするからね。
Yeah.
でもそれだったらロビーで寝ているアリスにだって問題ないか？見かけたら放っておけないだろう、あんなの。
Well, okay, but this isn't the mountains where if someone just falls asleep in a random spot that could be attacked by an animal. Like, she's in our house. So it's like.
その心意気は立派だけど、そこはそれ。この館の持ち主は彼女だから。
Okay, at least Aoko gets that it wasn't out of trying to be creepy.
この洋館内であなたが出会ったあらゆる不義不始末、失敗失態の責任は宗十郎に押し付けられるの。この意味、わかる？
I think so. Aoko's question sent Sojiro into a trance of deep thought until finally he uttered.
つまり、ここはアリスの自治領なんだな。
I mean, yeah, she owns this house, so yes.
はい、よくできました。 正確には私とアリスのだけどね。
I mean,
領主は何をやっても許されるってことよ。
I feel like it's mainly Alice's. You're only here because I guess your family's had a kind of arrangement, but... She smiled as she spoke and plopped herself down on the sofa. Sojiro remained standing behind the sofa opposite her as he ran over the conversation again and again in his head. The notion of this being their kingdom made him realize he actually had no idea where the girls had come from or their family's background.
青崎、君ご両親はどうしてるんだ？
Well, that's weird. He inadvertently blurted out, this being the question foremost on his mind.
生きてるわよ。三崎町から下りに4駅行った東川ってところの地主。死は祖父だけど、今は隠居して両親と一緒の土地に住んでるわ。
Okay, I'm surprised she gave up that information willingly. But I guess again, if they're hoping to have his memory wiped, or at least him, or at minimum him dead, in 3 months' time, I guess, what does him knowing this really matter?
そう聞くと、なんだか普通の家庭だな。
Sojiro had imagined something more outrageous for a family of magicians.
両親はね、父さんにはあんまり魔術回路は作られなかったみたいだから、その分私には2世代分の潜在能力があるって祖父は言ってるけど、どうだか。
Yeah, I don't think that's... I mean, maybe. I don't know.
宗十郎の期待してるような一族はどっちかっていうとアリスの方よ。私と違って英国出身だからね、彼女。
Aoko offered nothing more as if to suggest that was as far as she was willing to reveal for now. Sojiro had insisted on talking to Alice directly rather than hearing things secondhand, so chose not to go back on his word by pushing the topic further.
ま、詳しくは本人から聞きなさい。アリスの紅茶好きもそこから来てるんだし。
Yeah, yeah, makes sense.
そういえば、なんで今日に限ってリーフティーなんか入れたの？ティーバッグを使った方がまだマシだったでしょうに。
That's a good question.
青崎がそっちの方がいいって言ったじゃないか。アリスは紅茶にうるさいって。
Yeah, but maybe you should have tested the waters first in a more, in a setting where you could ask what tea they wanted. Aoko was momentarily at a loss for words. He seemed so oblivious most of the time, but apparently he was attentive to some details, at least selectively.
ま、いいわ。それより明日の放課後だけど、また一人で帰ってくれない？
Yeah.
年明けの行事があるんだけど、その場しのぎで行った餅つき大会が通っちゃってさ、明日も忙しいのよ、私。
Sojiro nodded in acceptance. You know, I want to visit Japan at some point. Do a 2-month tour of just trying to hit as many cool and interesting places as possible. But one of the things I want to do is mochi making. Just being in a circle, right, around this bowl with the mochi in it, and you have the hammers, and you just take turns whacking it. And if you get into a good rhythm, it it seems so fun. Maybe that's just the monkey brain part of me being ooh, smack thing with hammer. Sojiro nodded in acceptance. In fact, he had already been planning to do so before she even asked.
それはいいけど、体は大丈夫か、青崎。昨日から寝てないだろう。
夕方に3時間ちょい仮眠を取ったから調子はいいわ。
Quick 3 hours, yeah, okay.
そういうあんたこそ体は持つんでしょうね。もう少ししたら昨日の続き始めるわよ。
He thought you weren't gonna want to teach him tonight. She meant the all-night cramming session, of course. Needless to say, Sojiro was more than likely to struggle given that he, too, had not slept a wink. All he could do was give a relieved smile. He thought back to the days just after he transferred here, when she watched his every move from the sidelines and showed a startling amount of concern for him. Yeah.
いいよ。どのみち苦労するのは青崎の方だし、異例中の異例はありがたく受け取っておくとしよう。
His cheery response grated on her just a little bit.
ほんと、くだらないことだけはしつこく覚えてるんだから。
Yeah, it's a talent. She heaved her shoulders in exasperation and dropped her head as an excuse to look away from the beaming smile on his face. And you wanted to keep him alive. That's what you get. The following day, the last day of finals had ended without a hitch. That final December hurdle was finally a thing of the past. For all but one student, that is. To Sojiro, the greatest challenge was yet to come. He bid farewell to his classmates, all jittery with excitement for the last day of term, and headed into the Shiro Inuzuka Woods. The road home was no different than yesterday. Like he was reliving yet another day just riding up that hill. Yet today, there was a fierce determination in his steps. Today was his last chance, and he wanted nothing more than to talk to the girl. He did not care if she was cruel to him or ignored him, nor whether Aoko was being truthful when she said that she could trap him in a mirror land or something like that. All he really cared about was having the chance to speak with her face to face. Okay, I like the determination. But nothing is ever that simple. Is she asleep in the same spot again? To tell the truth, what he found upon finally entering the mansion was not wholly unexpected.
よく寝る子だな、本当。
Okay, what will be your choice this time? I get... She must have been waiting for him, right? There's no way she falls asleep in the same spot back-to-back days as a coincidence. Like, there's no way. The deja vu he was experiencing made him dizzy. Faced with an exact reenactment of the previous day, he could not help but blurt out what he was thinking. Alice was sleeping by the fireplace, just as she had done yesterday. The way her legs draped to one side resembled those of a princess in a children's book. She looked more comfortable than she had the day before. Miraculously, he had a rare flash of insight that enabled him to read the situation more clearly.
学校で飛び丸は一人何をしているんだろう。
Okay. Upon glancing back at the entrance, he made his decision, took a deep breath, and rolled up his sleeves. If today was a reenactment of yesterday, then he supposed he would play along with that idea. Please don't make more tea. Okay. Sojiro removed his shoes and headed for the kitchen. He was off to prepare another ill-fated pot of tea. Okay. Since she was angry about him using her falchion, this time he turned to Jackson's fruit and herb brew. Okay. Sadly, this was about as much as Sojiro could manage to amend his behavior. He had failed to realize that it was not the brand of tea that had landed him in hot water, but rather his incorrect brewing method. Wait, she was only angry because he brewed the tea wrong? She wasn't angry that he used the tea at... Okay. So she did appreciate the thought, maybe she appreciated it, but just brewed it wrong. But he doesn't know that, so he's still gonna brew it wrong. Okay. After filling the pot with tea, he carried it back to the foyer. Wait, no! Is he just dumping the tea into the water and not, like, using a Thanks with Lisa. Oh no. Please tell me that's not what he did, right? He didn't just dump the tea into the water, right? His breath was visible in the cold air as he sat himself down by the fireplace. Sojiro took a sip of the fruity tea he prepared for himself and pulled his textbook from his bag. Exams were over now, but he had been instructed to take extra classes for the subjects from day one of school. Quite inevitable. The foyer was warmer than outside, but still far from comfortable. It was enough to make anyone yearn for some source of warmth. Sojiro dove into his electronics textbook in the winter-chilled hall. The class wasn't very popular, which is why it had been recommended to him in the first place. The fact that everyone who took it started on equal footing made it more appealing to him than other classes.
けど、青崎の言う通り。
He downed the rest of the tea, having no appreciation for its flavor, and refilled his cup. The tea was still warm since the ceramic pot had excellent heat retention.
文字で物事を覚えるのは苦手みたいだ。
He vaguely recalled a conversation as his eyes advanced across the page. The lack of lighting in the foyer was forcing him to rely on illumination from the skylight. The light cut into the room at a diagonal angle in such a way as to divide the foyer into light and dark areas, with the fireplace in shadow. The room resembled ancient ruins covered in ash. Or perhaps the quiet, forgotten world of a faded fairy tale. Time slipped on by within the white walls of this room, hidden away from the sun. The minutes passed slowly for some time, until the sound of a textbook slamming shut brought the room back to reality. Sojiro stretched his stiff back and eagerly got started on clearing up. He put his textbook back in his bag, placed his cup on the tray, leaving Alice's sitting in front of her on the floor.
バイトの時間だ。
He said unceremoniously. He spoke as to convince himself that he had no other choice as he prepared to leave the sleepy foyer behind. Bro, man's been awake for like... I don't know how fucking long, but like he's still going to work. But before he could, a sound behind him stopped him in his tracks. He turned around with his bag under his arm and tray in his hands. So as not to cause even a ripple in her teacup, he greeted her.
Yeah.
Nice. Nice greeting. In a light, easygoing manner. She remained seated next to the fireplace like a black-eyed sleeping beauty. Her face was as still as a statue, almost no different than it had been in slumber. Looking at Alice now, he realized just how different she and Aoko really were. Aoko communicated her feelings openly, even if he never could quite tell where they came from. Her trademark expression of irritation would keep him guessing as to the reason she was angry, but to her credit, her emotional state was always clear. Alice, on the other hand, was completely unreadable. She might be angry, or then again sad. He couldn't tell either way.
何のつもり?
Going to work? Her question gave him a sinking feeling in the pit of his stomach. He couldn't decide whether it was animosity or perplexity that he heard in her voice. Both? In the former, this was likely to turn into a replay of their interaction from the other night. An image of the shattered bottle sprang to his mind. Sojiro knew his response would be extremely important. And after struggling for a few moments, he finally worked up the courage to say something. Uh-huh. Just not the correct thing, unfortunately. Oh, God.
そうだな。一口じゃ説明できないから。座るよ。
Bro. You could give like a brief. You could have given her like a brief something and said, I don't fucking know. Yeah. Okay. He had no idea what the correct approach would be, so he simply did whatever came into his mind instead. She gave him no response. Her face said that she detested his presence, but he plowed ahead regardless. Sojiro took a seat and sat down the tray once more. Their eyes met. Her inscrutable gaze was enough to turn most people away. But the target of her animosity appeared not to notice it at all.
それで何？
ああ、遅くなったけど、こうして話がしたかったんだ、アリスと。
Despite having suggested that it would take time to explain, he managed to sum things up succinctly. Okay, I feel like that's surprise on her face. Maybe.
私と会うことではなく。
I mean, you're the one that he's not on great terms with, so yeah.
ん？そうだね。青崎とはもっと話したいところだけど、それよりは3人で話してみたい。
Yeah, that'd probably be a good idea, maybe. Alice found herself out of kilter, unable to read his true intentions. Sojiro continued on, none the wiser to her bewilderment.
青崎は普段からアリスとは会話がないって言うんだ。それが俺のせいなら困るし、俺のせいじゃないならもっと困る。
Okay.
せっかく同じ場所にいるのに会話がないなんて、もったいないと思うんだ。
I mean, she doesn't. Okay. Each word he spoke was heavy with emotion. Alice remained utterly unable to discern this boy's intentions. All she could parse was that there was something he wanted from her. Not. I mean, yes, but no. But what could that be? What she found even stranger was that he was not speaking to her from a place of fear.
あなたは私が怖くないの？
I mean, there's probably some fear there, but I think he just wants to understand. That's all.
ああ、だってそう言えるほど俺は君をよく知らない。
Or not. Her gleaming eyes looked like they were made of polished quartz. Okay, assuming all of this was like all the things have been like getting said in the text about her, if all of these are like Sojiro's thoughts, you know, if that's the case, then he's very complimentary towards her in his head. Or maybe it's just the descriptor that the writer's using for the text and it's not meant to be his thoughts. I don't know, but still, his response had not been what she expected. He spoke with pure honesty and unfettered truth. Such boldness, however, did not actually upset her. Okay. Their conversation ground to a halt. If you could even call it a conversation in the first place. I mean, yeah, I guess, yeah, I think so. Alice grew tense, as if displeased by the strangely comfortable moment of silence between them. Sojiro endured a cold stare, showing no sign of flinching.
話。
Okay.
私と話をしたいと言ったでしょ。
Yeah.
なら好きにしてみたら。
This is going well, I think. It was more a challenge than an invitation. He had neither a topic on hand, nor were they intimate enough to strike up a casual conversation. Okay, are you telling me you have had 2 days since you told Aoka that you would just talk to her straight up? And in that time, you did not come up with what to, like, talk about or ask. Over 48 hours. Because it was in the morning that you had that thought. Actually, no. I'm dumb. No, this would be like 36 hours. Because this would be like... Or... I don't remember how many days it's been. But still... in however much time you had, you did not think of what to ask or say. Not a single thing. Right. Nonetheless, her challenge hung in the air, waiting for a response.
じゃあ、あの鳥の話を。ほら、そこにいる青い鳥。たまに見かけるんだけど、君の飼い鳥か？
I think it's more familiar than a pet, but...
それとも、ほら、なんて言ったかな。プロイだっけ？あの鳥もアリスの使い魔？
Yeah, she probably doesn't want to answer any questions about how her magic works. But I guess I wouldn't... Her eyes let slip for a moment a very natural response. It was annoyance, such as that which one might feel toward a troublemaker.
あれもプロイだけど、私とは何の関係もない脱鳥。ずいぶん古くからいるだけで、私もよく知らない
わ。Was it your mother's then? Maybe she left it and told it to watch over you?
ん？じゃあ勝手に住んでるのか？この家に。
勝手になんて、私が許すはずがないでしょ。ロビンは本当に役に立たないけど、あんなのでも母から譲り受けたものだから。
Okay.
失敗続きでも特別に住まわせてあげてるの。
That's mean, but I guess if it really has no, I'm not gonna make excuses for her. That's just straight up mean.
そっか、安心した。ここに住むの役に立たなきゃダメってわけでもないんだね。
Okay, self-deprecating humor to try and get on her good side. Okay. She turned away in silence to avoid looking at his hapless grin. Uh-huh. Thus began Sojiro's very lengthy monologue. It started with his part-time job, then moved on to the school. Next came the amusement park and random gossip around town, and last, the subject of rent. He spent all of 20 minutes on mindless small talk. Then, he ran out of things to say and finally stopped.
ごめん、アルバイトがあるから、もう行くよ。
And that was that. After finally getting his long-awaited chance to talk to her, he realized he had no exit plan in place. Yeah. So he returned the tray to the kitchen, placed his bag in the foyer, and headed for the door. She had never seen the boy so candid, which was why, overcome with surprise, she found herself calling out to him. Oh?
待って。
She had no reason to do so, and yet she called out anyway.
何？
今日はポットがあったけど。
Yeah?
うん。昨日の反省点だったから、結局使ったのは自分だけだけど。
そう。そのポットはコーヒーとの兼用だから。ハーブティーには合わないわ。
Okay, okay, okay. So, interesting. Aoko said she was angry. Obviously, they shouldn't say that, it was angry. She was angry because of this particular reason. I assume Aoko didn't even know that the pot with the brewing method / pot was the reason. But instead of vocalizing the anger here, she just said, hey, that's not how it's done. That's not how you use it. Interesting. Someone as I guess, I would say, I'll say it. She's probably pretty cold. And yet his just straightforwardness even gets her to kind of be like, I don't know how to put it, she understands that all he wants is to be helpful, or that it doesn't come from a place of purposefully trying to be I don't know. Sojiro's eyes grew wide with shock. I don't know how to vocalize what I'm trying to pick up from their interactions here. It's hard to describe, and then also I don't even know if that's what the writers are going for. I don't know, it's hard to say. Now he remembered that there had been all sorts of cups and teapots in the cupboard, each one specially designed for a different type of tea.
なかなかに奥深い。あれかな。慣れないことはするもんじゃないってことか。
She let out a vexed sigh.
どうして私を起こさなかったの？
He didn't want... if you're tired, he didn't want to disturb you, I guess? Either she had not heard what he said, or she had been waiting this whole time for a chance to ask him that. In any case, her question abruptly interrupted his stream of thought. He fell silent with introspection. The thought of waking her had not so much as crossed his mind either that day or the previous one.
言って。起こす気も起きることも期待していなかったのはなぜ？
Her eyes were filled with animosity. Lies were useless against such an all-piercing gaze. The setting sun transformed the foyer into a battle of life and death. Lies or deceptive answers would not be permitted. Amidst the palpable tension that filled the room, where any move, wrong or otherwise, was likely to get him killed, he felt pain rather than fear. Alice's voice was icy cold, preemptively rejecting any response he was to give. The boy vaguely imagined a newborn chick that had fallen from the nest, struggling to survive on its own. It gasped, hanging on to a thread of hope, yet detesting where that thread hung.
言わなきゃいけないか。
Alice nodded sharply.
じゃあ言うけど、別に深い考えがあったわけじゃない。単に寝た子を起こすのは良くないだろ。
冗談は聞いてないわ。
I don't think he's joking.
冗談じゃないよ。眠っているのならそのままでいいと思ったんだ。話はしたいけど、それはまた目が覚めた次の機会にするべきだって。
随分と悠長なのね。 青子があなたを守るのは今日までだって聞いているけど。
Yeah? But, that doesn't mean you'll do anything, right? Right?
私に取り入る機会はこれが最後なのに。それともあれだけ忠告されておいてまだ何も分かっていないの？
What lesson? He had not. He swore to her, agreed to her terms, and gone as far as to sit face to face with her to get to know her. Surely he thought this was enough to escape death. I don't know about that. And she believed, as a mage, that his naive goodwill and simple-mindedness were all the reasons she needed to execute him. But she can't just change who he is in a matter of days. Like, what? Trivial misunderstandings would only make things worse at this point. I mean, yeah, I guess, but still.
そりゃ何もわからないよ。魔術とか魔法とか、たった数日でわかるもんか。はっきりしているのは、アリスも青崎も言ったことはきっちり守るってことだけだ。
なら、どうして？
Her gaze said what she really wanted to ask. She wanted to know why he did not beg for his life. She knew the answer. She saw the look on his face when he turned to leave without so much as trying to wake her. A look of resignation. What on earth had it meant?
どうしてって、そう言われても困る。そうだな。機会が訪れなかったのなら、それはそういうことだと思ったのかもしれない。君の寝顔はそれぐらい、なんていうか、判断に困った。青崎とは違う意味で、簡単には関われないと思ったんだ。
Sojiro struggled to find the right words, but said what he was feeling in the moment anyway. I just had a thought. Maybe my thought, like on the previous day, about this being a test, was right. Or maybe at least, maybe not yesterday, but this one had to have definitely been a test. Like, there's no, okay, again, there is no way her falling asleep in the same place is a coincidence. Like, she realized he didn't wake her yesterday, right? So, she wanted to see what he would do if presented with the same scenario. That's what I think. I think this, maybe not the first time, but I think this, the second time here, this had to have been a test, for sure. He'd seen a sleeping witch of the wood who clearly needed someone's help, yet sought the help of no one.
そう。でも、しずきくんは関わろうとしているのね。その機会は訪れなかったのに。
機会はやってきたよ。なんで、こっちも今日ぐらいは自分の勝手にして無茶をしたくなったんだ。
Okay.
しずきくんの言う通りなら、私はあなたを拒絶するしかないのに。
I mean, he probably did.
まあ、そこが難しいところなんだけど。
Sojiro glanced at the entrance. He had no reason to. He just felt an urge to do so.
多分、そこを解決したがってるのは俺だけじゃないと思うよ。
Did he just like have a feeling that Aoko was listening? Maybe? He muttered as if speaking to himself, but it was clearly meant for her to hear. Alice knew full well how poorly he had understood the situation. All of this was one giant misunderstanding on his part. His tiny gesture of goodwill, pitiful and pure, resembled that of someone reaching out to help a dying kitten. For Alice, doing so would be akin to clutching the thorns of a rose. She felt pain in her chest for the first time in quite a while.
けど、私はあなたの同居を認めてはいないわ。
She addressed the floor at her feet to avoid showing him how she truly felt. If he had, he would have seen that her face looked just the way Alco's had earlier.
だろうな。それはきっと今は解決できない問題だ。
By how Alco's was earlier, does that mean the anger when he brought up just talking it out, or is it referring to something else?
でもそのうち何かの気まぐれであっさり終わるものかもしれない。だからその時までアリスはずっと俺を嫌っていていいんだと思う。
Her gasp of breath was like a response in itself. To suggest she could keep hating him. She had once wished to hear those words so dearly, if only the once.
大体だぞ。アリスだけじゃなく、青崎も同居を認めてない節があるじゃないか。だから認めてもらうなんて意気込み自体が間違いなんだ。どうあっても俺は青崎や君たちとは違うんだし。となると、あとは我慢してもらうしかない。難しい話だけど、一緒にいても邪魔にならないぐらいなら、その可能性は上がらないか
？Thinking that of course it was possible, but if it were that easy, none of this would have been necessary in the first place. Alice nodded in agreement. There was no way he could have planned for things to work out this well. But his plan in fact had worked, if inadvertently, from the moment the conversation began. Wait, the moment it began?
例えば、あなたが隣にいても眠っていられるぐらいに。
I guess. Oh wait, is that what? Oh, I think I see. Okay, so maybe her sleeping here again wasn't a test. Maybe I'm wrong. So I'm backtracking on myself, but I think I've got it. So the reason it said that it inadvertently worked from the start of the conversation was because she was like, he went out of his way to like not do something that would wake me, or I guess talking from her perspective, that, you know, he didn't do anything that would potentially wake me or her or whatever perspective you want to think about it from. And that his mere presence didn't even wake her, because he held no like animosity. Because like I'm sure she could probably, to an extent, could probably like tell if she was in danger, right? Even while sleeping, but she didn't feel a sense of danger or any sort of like malintent.
そうだね。例えばの話。
Beaming, Sojiro stood up and left the foyer. I got $5 on Alco being behind the door and having been listening in for however long. Alice didn't stop him this time. He had a newfound spring in his step as he headed to work. But something gave him a moment's pause.
実際、覗き見は趣味が悪いと思う。
He complained aloud to make sure a certain someone heard him. I knew it. No more than like the minute that little thing of dialogue where he like looked towards the door and he said he just had an urge to do so. Yeah, like with him going up in the mountains and having to be like aware of like animals like stalking you. The fact that he like, yeah, come on, like of course he's gonna pick up when a person is watching. Like, come on. No more than 2 minutes had passed since Sojiro left the mansion when a long-haired figure came creeping into the foyer. Aoko Awazaki had been just outside the entire time, eavesdropping.
帰ってたの。
20 minutes ago. With a sullen glare, Alice addressed the interloper. Ahem. Aoko was shivering from head to toe after standing in the cold for so long. She deemed gloves an abomination and refused to wear them except in the most extreme cold. As a result, her slender fingers were pitifully swollen and red.
ちょっと前にね。それでどうだったのアリス。随分と話してたみたいだけど。
She looked strangely elated as she blew on her hands to warm them. Alice was not fooled at all by Aoko's facade, clear from the ill-tempered look she wore on her face.
あなたがここまで過保護とは思わなかったわ。意地？それとも義務？
どっちかっていうと成り行きね。で、どうだったのよ結果は。気に食わなかったら実力行使に出るって言ってたじゃない。
Alice's mood was growing darker and darker the longer she had to look at Aoko's cheerful posturing. I mean, it didn't go as poorly as it could have. Let's leave it at that. It all went back to their dinner together the previous night. After everything that happened in the foyer, Alice was both more suspicious of and intrigued by Sojiro than ever before. She insisted that Aoko let him walk home alone the next day. She then used a concoction to fake her slumber and It wasn't best this time! I knew it! Used a concoction to fake her slumber and recreate the same scene as the previous day. Wait, now that I think about it, Sojiro must have realized that too, right? Because he came in and said, so it's a replay of the previous day or something along those lines. Like he thought that. Okay. Or maybe he just thought it was a coincidence too. I don't know. Previous day. That portion of her plan went well, but the rest had veered totally off course. It did not help to know her roommate had savored every moment of it from the other side of the wall either. Yeah. To make matters worse, Alice was frustrated at herself for letting such trivial matters bother her. She stared at the teacup still sitting on the floor, which is probably very cold by now. Yeah, her pale finger traced his cold rim.
青子の言う通り、害にはならない人ね。あくまで今のところの話だけど。
For the time being, of course. Yeah. She forced a tone of indifference in order to hide her irritation with her apprentice. It was in this moment that Sojiro's fate was decided.
あら、それだけ？アリスにしては長く話してたのに。
Oh, quit being so smug, Aoko. You're gonna make it worse. Relentless, Aoko continued her line of questioning. Alice only stared back icily.
青子、あなた、隠していたわね。
She voiced her displeasure at Aoko's behavior in no uncertain terms. Yeah, I mean, even Sojiro picked up on it. You really gotta work on your spying skills, Aoko. Like, if this is gonna be a common thing, you gotta work on that. Cause, like, I don't know, both parties picked up on it, so, like... Suddenly, the air in the foyer felt cold as ice. They stared at one another, each trying to guess the other's next move.
さすがね。よくそこに気がついたもんだわ。でも、こればかりは譲れないのよ。
Yeah, we'll see about that. Aoko widened her stance and glared at Alice.
何も全て奪うとは言っていないわ。そうね。あなたにも3割ぐらいは回すつもり。
Oh, are they talking about the rent they're gonna make him pay? Completely unperturbed by Aoko's warlike posturing, a simple look was all Alice needed to keep her roommate in check.
銃が3に化けちゃ、ちょっと黙ってらんないわね。
高望みは命取りよ、青子。
So, they made a deal, right? So it was either... Obviously, he would have died, or if she somehow did let him live, which I guess Alice didn't think was going to happen, Aoko would be allowed to take the rent money. But because Aoko followed him home when Alice told her not to, she's like, okay, well, hold up a fucking minute. Alice remained calm and dignified, not moving a muscle. It felt like hours passed as the two stared at each other in silence. Aoko was grinding her teeth in frustration. At this rate, their alliance would be in tatters before they even confronted their foe. And worst of all, she knew Alice had the upper hand.
Catch.
What's it? Aoko accepted her defeat with a tusk.
悔しいけど、アリスが6。私が4で手を打つわ。
It pained her to settle for less. Alice nodded in satisfaction.
そうね。家主は私だけど、彼を招いたのは青子だから。その代わり、家賃の取り立てはあなたの役割ね。
いいけど。ああ、情けない。こんなことなら錬金術でもかじっておくんだった。
Yeah,
どうすればこんな思いをしなくても済んだのに。
Right, just make gold and then turn it in for money.
そうでもないわ。彼らバブルが弾けて大変だって話よ。
Yeah, true. Alice spoke with the confident. Wait, no, they can't make silver or sorry, gold. They can only make silver. Because gold never goes down in value, but silver does. I think. Or is it the opposite? I don't know. Alice spoke with the confidence of someone with first-hand experience of such matters. Yet Aoka only nodded absent-mindedly in response. Their bitter fight was over how to split the take of Sojiro's rent now that he was officially going to move in. Not the most becoming quarrel for a pair of mages. Forcing a boy to live with them and then demanding he pay rent was beyond extortion. It was truly vicious.
でも、そんなセリフが出るってことは、アリスもようやく認めたってことね。
Yeah, shut up, Aoko. Aoko was triumphantly satisfied with herself.
認めてはいないけど、公園での夜、彼を結界で捕捉しなかった責任があるから。
Okay.
彼と約束をした青子だけを責められないでしょ。
I mean, yeah, I suppose.
約束か。
Aoko looked up at the ceiling as she recalled the night at the amusement park. Only a week at most had passed since then, but Aoko already felt that Sojiro's fate and her own had become intrinsically linked. Or perhaps they had always been connected by fate since the moment they met. She could not see into the future, so there was no way to know for sure.
ま、縁とか運とかはともかく、 変だけどいいやつよね、あいつ。
Yeah, being weird is not so bad. Unless it's like being an absolute creep, like kind of weird, but yeah, that's not his kind of weird. He's just odd. A thought uttered to herself in self-confirmation more than to Alice. Alice could only look on in annoyance. Perhaps in an attempt to voice her displeasure at her comment.
青子、あの傷を知ってる？
Oh no. Alice, don't.
傷？
Like, he even told you that he didn't tell her. Like, come on. Alice raised her slender fingers to her mouth as if to push the words back in. She had blurted it out in the heat of the moment. Okay, at least it wasn't intentional, I guess. A secret that no one else was supposed to know, but that which one couldn't keep to herself.
Hmm?
You really Aoko, you really haven't questioned why he has a bandage around his neck? Like, really? Okay. Aoko tilted her head in confusion. Like, the fact, okay, so like, obviously she wouldn't know what the injury exactly is, right? But like, as soon as Alice said that, she should have been like, are you talking about the bandage? Like, I don't, like, is it invisible? For some reason, somehow, some way? Like, I don't know. Aoko tilted her head in confusion.
So.
Alice looked relieved for some reason. Her sudden antipathy towards Aoko had dissipated as well. She's probably like, I know something you don't.
幸せな人。
Okay. Said Alice as she took a sip of her cold tea. She made no attempt to explain who was fortunate or why. A moment later, her beautiful face contorted in revulsion.
まずい。
Yeah, cold tea made in the wrong pot, I guess would be gross, maybe. She abandoned the cup to the floor once more. Her black dress unceremoniously scrunched up as she stood. Just one sip of the underbrewed tea sent her fleeing to the drawing room to remove the bad taste from her mouth. As soon as she was gone, Aoko hesitatingly took the teacup in her own hands. It was almost certainly better left untasted, but she could not help but wonder how Sojo's tea could arouse such a strong response. After one small sip, she returned it quietly to the floor. You're not even gonna go take it to the kitchen and wash it? You're just gonna leave it there?
だからティーバッグにしろって言ったのに、あのバカ。
Okay. The expression on her face was nearly identical to that of her roommates. That bad, huh? Okay. New book added to archives. Is that just that chapter or is it an actual thing? I'll have to look. But anyway, I'm gonna end off there, but I guess first I'll go check the archive to see what... No, I think that was just the... I can't... Oh, there we go. Oh wait, no, that is something new. Okay, I'm gonna leave that for now. And... Wait, can I not... It doesn't let me go to the main menu from here. Oh, okay, just go through the... Okay. So yeah, that is something new. So yeah, next time we will do, I guess that's like chapter 6.5 or something. But yeah, next time we'll do that. And or chapter 7.5. Yeah, next time we'll do Martha. I don't know why it's called that, but you know, we'll do that. And yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time. Later.